My name is Don Hart, Vice President of Training and Development at the IDC Worldsource Insurance Network. Recently, I was able to sit down with Michael Gow at Win Succession, Inc. to talk a little bit about the buying and selling of blocks of business and the program that's available to you as IDC Worldsource Insurance brokers to take advantage of in terms of your succession planning. After you watch this video, you'll see the answer is pretty much black and white. I'm here with Michael Gow today to talk about succession planning. Michael, how do you feel the last 2 years has impacted advisors and their plans to either grow their business or consider retirement?
Well, Don, as we all know, it's been a difficult 2 years for a lot of reasons. The reality of it is financial advisors aren't getting any younger. There's more of there's a seemingly growing demand of sellers in the marketplace, and as well as a growing demand for buyers, which is great. However, it can be quite complex, and the most important thing is for advisors to get themselves as prepared as they possibly can be for what's to come when that opportunity presents itself or when they need to do something more formal.
How have the valuations been impacted?
Well, interestingly enough, I would suggest, Don, that things haven't changed that much in the last 2 years. We've seen the market, supply and demand typically drives the market like any other industry. There's been cases of higher multiples for valuations, just given the reality that a real good book of business that's well prepared and ready for sale, that usually will drive a larger or a higher multiple. And again, there's lots of advisors who haven't prepared their business particularly well for sale, and once again, and they're getting older. That brings the value down somewhat. So there's a real variation. But the last 2 years, and people are starting to think much more seriously than they have historically. That's been my experience, at least.
So what have you experienced in previous acquisitions that either encouraged you or discouraged you from the purchase?
The single most important thing is how well prepared the business is in terms of data, in terms of understanding the product mix and having that identified, outlined, documented. Compliance is a very important piece of that puzzle. Has there been any history of compliance issues or any legal issues? And how well have they done financially? What do the financials look like for the last 2 or 3 years? Those are critically important elements. I've had firsthand experience with an advisor that paid higher than what I would have thought to be a good multiple, and they lived to regret that, as it turned out. So that the basics haven't changed that much, Don. It really depends on how well prepared that book is and how the due diligence you do before you step into it. Critically important.
What have you learned over the years, and what are you doing at Win Succession to address the changing market?
Well, one thing that's become very clear, Don, and that is that everyone's situation is a little bit unique. Most people have a variation of what they want to achieve in terms of reaching retirement age and eventually stepping out, moving on out of the business. So what we've concluded and what we've done to be reactive to that is to be able to step in and develop a plan that suits a particular advisor's need as best we can under their circumstances.
Can we talk about the joint venture program that you've recently put together?
Yeah, that was a great an opportunity that presented itself about a year ago. We saw a need for there's a growing market of younger, successful advisors who, when I asked the question, what their strategy for growing their business was, without exception, they all said, buy a book of business. The obvious answer is, well, why haven't you? Or, well, I did and it wasn't successful, or I don't know where to find one, I don't know how to value it, and so on. So we've been doing that part of the business for years quite successfully, and we have become quite expert, in fact. So for us to be able to identify these younger advisors who are looking to grow their business, find a book of business that's a good fit for the two of us to work together in, it's just been tremendously successful. These younger advisors buy into that book. They buy ownership, a piece of the action, so to speak. So they have skin in the game, and they do a great job. So far, it's been a tremendously successful model and working great.
What can advisors do to protect their business interests even though they're a bit older but not ready for retirement?
Make a plan. Build a plan. Document what you want to do. Document those steps. Clean up your business. Make sure that it is as ready and packaged up as best it can be with the bow ready to go when that day comes. But typically, once again, what's happened in our experience is these gentlemen, ladies are well-intended, but find themselves in an awkward spot if and when something happens, unexpected happens. Someone gets sick, either themselves or their spouse or partner become ill. Everything changes, and it can change very, very quickly. So my advice, long answer to your question, Don, be ready. Get your business in great shape as a starting point, for sure.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the LOU agreement?
Yeah, what was missing from the industry is we know historically and statistically that advisors do a poor job of planning for their own succession. It's just a reality. The nature of our great business. We do well, and those renewal and trailers keep dropping into the bank account, which is a wonderful thing, and those of you that have been around for a long time have earned that. However, if the unexpected happens, and it does often, you need to be prepared. And there wasn't anything in the market that really addressed that. So here at IDC, in cooperation with IDC, we've developed what we call a letter of understanding that is essentially an insurance product that you can have with your will. It simply states, in the event of the unexpected, when succession will buy the business from your estate at a predetermined price and a predetermined payment structure decided by you, agreed to by you. And it's non-binding. If your estate has other options or finds a better alternative, you can rip it up and move on. But at least there's something in place for your estate.
And have you had an instance where you've taken advantage of the LOU because of a death?
Numerous, as a matter of fact. And in more recent history, we literally were signing an LOU, and it became an asset purchase agreement because of the seriousness of the illness of this particular advisor, and he passed away days after that agreement was signed.
What are you looking for when you consider buying or acquiring a block of business?
Well, I've created what I call the business valuation checklist. Some obvious things, for example, and probably at the top of the list would be an up-to-date electronic database. That makes the transition of a book so much easier, so much more effective, so much more timely. Database CRM is important, and then having how do you conduct your business? If you're a planner, what software do you use to conduct business with your clients? Do you have staff? What are your commitments to the staff that you may or may not want to retain as a result of your business? As we know, staff can sometimes be as important or more important than the advisor because they do all the planning and create the meetings. Do you have a lease? Do you have a commitment to the space you're in, or do you own the space? How important is your brand? That's an element that can be very important in some cases, not always, but it can be very important. So there's always something about transitioning that brand and maintaining it for a period of time to transition to the new owners, etc. That's just a few of the 14, 15 items that we would typically look at and check boxes to determine we're in the right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the Readiness Document?
Well, the Readiness Document is just that. We've built a template for an advisor to look at to determine how prepared they are. And we've weighted the importance of those issues, some of the ones I've just mentioned. We've weighted those issues, and then we can do a fairly quick assessment after the advisor has completed that Readiness Document. It's just essentially a preparedness test. How ready are you? And we'll, based on the importance of each of the questions, we'll come up with we'll come up with a score, and based on that score, it'll really determine if you're not the least bit ready or if you're totally ready, and anything in between.
Where can I get one of these Readiness Documents? Is it something that I would download and I can go over, or is it something I would call you for? That'll
be online and available to IDC advisors early in the new year, the first quarter of the new year. We're just working out some of the finite technical details, but we think it'll become a very valuable tool and not complex. My experience, once again, I can tell you that I personally think, in some cases, we make this whole process of either being prepared and or even doing a sale much more complicated than it needs to be. There's a few basic characteristics, and it's a negotiation with the right person under the right terms that are fair and equal to both parties. That's a good deal.
We've obviously had a long relationship with Michael Gow and Win Succession. And if you're thinking about retirement or getting ready to retirement or want to increase the value of your business for your future retirement, then I say that Michael is open to having a conversation with you. You can contact him at the email address at the end of this video. His phone number is at the end of the video as well. And reach out to him. He's very welcoming, be interested in talking to you, and find out more about you and your business. The answer is pretty much black and white.